It's been such a long time since I've filmed a video, so it feels kind of strange to talk in front of a camera, especially a camera that is like an actual camera and not a phone. I've been thinking about buying one of these for like a decade, so to actually have it just feels strange. So today I thought for my first video I would do an updated Criterion collection. I didn't previously do a Criterion collection because I only had about 3 discs, DVDs. Why did I call them discs? I just didn't have that many, so now I've accumulated a lot more. I have about 40. Most of them I purchased through the July Barnes & Noble sale. I took 3 straight trips, 3 weeks in a row to Barnes & Noble and just kind of went crazy in that aisle. I'm going to be going through each and every one of them and just kind of talking about why I have it, maybe what it's about, I don't know, just, yeah, talking through each movie. There are a few of these that I haven't seen yet, so I'm gonna mention those first because I just haven't gotten to seeing them yet, so it's hard for me to like really talk about. And I have no excuse for why I haven't seen them yet. I mostly, when I go to watch a movie, it's just one that's streaming. It's hard, I don't often have time to sit down and watch a full movie, and so it's harder to watch DVDs because then you have to like remember your place and all that. So if I'm watching something, it's usually streaming. But I do have these and I have the player to watch them on. For me, it's like, I just love having like the physical copy or whatever. I'm hoping to watch these eventually, especially now with Criterion Channel. A lot of these like, spoiler alert, I have Day for Night, and I hadn't watched it for so long, and it was one of the only Truffaut movies I hadn't seen, and just recently it got put on Criterion Channel and I was able to watch it. And I say able to watch it, like I don't have the actual DVD, but you know what I mean, I just explained it. I was able to finally watch it, and obviously I loved it. Just separate shout out to Criterion Channel, my favorite, the love of my life. I still feel quite emotional about Filmstruck. I don't know if anyone will ever replace Filmstruck, but Criterion Channel, obviously the best. I'm doing a Criterion video. Why wouldn't I love Criterion Channel? So here we go. I'm going to talk about the ones I hadn't seen yet, and we're just going to get right into it. You know what I didn't do before I started filming was pull out the ones I hadn't seen yet. So I'm... So the first one is Videodrome, directed by David Cronenberg. I'm gonna try not to talk about the packaging in every single one of them, but I really love this packaging. I haven't seen Videodrome. I'm really excited to. I've been just kind of saving it. I watched The Brood and absolutely loved The Brood. So this was just another one of his that I was really excited to watch. I've also seen Crash, and I love Crash. I watched Crash on, maybe I shouldn't say, I watched it on YouTube. It wasn't available anywhere else at the time. I was just indulging like a James Spader crush, so I watched Crash and just loved how out there it was. I was like, this is for me. Hopefully I will feel the same way about Videodrome, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited to. So this next one, I'm a sucker for box sets, so I picked up the Whit Stillman trilogy. So it has Metropolitan, The Last Days of Disco, and Barcelona. I need to... No talking about the packaging. We know Criterion packaging is gorgeous. We don't have to say it. Since picking this up, have seen Metropolitan, and I loved Metropolitan. Thought it was just hilarious. I'm excited to watch the other two. Haven't gotten to it, but want to. Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I would do a French accent, but I think I've lost mine. I used to be okay at speaking French, but it's gone away. But it's better when I watch movies, you know? So yeah, I haven't seen it, very excited to. I remember when Criterion Channel hadn't come out yet, and this was one of the movies of the week. I think like one of the last ones actually. And I almost watched it then, but as that was happening last year, that was a weird and busy time, so I didn't get a chance to. Next one is My Darling Clementine, which still has a little plastic on it. I just saw this in the Criterion aisle and I was like, the title is gorgeous and the title is gorgeous. That's what drew me to it, and so I picked it up, and I'm sure I'm gonna love it. And there's dog hair on it. So yeah, My Darling Clementine, The Red Shoes. I first heard about The Red Shoes because Zoe Kazan tweeted about it, and I was like, oh, this seems interesting. And still, as I mentioned before, haven't seen it. Haven't seen any of these. That's why I'm getting through them now, because I don't like talking about movies I haven't seen. I think this is on Criterion Channel, so I'm gonna get to it eventually. It's hard, like I also want to watch movies in the dark, and I feel like a movie like this I want to watch in the dark, so I have to wait for it to be nighttime, and then at nighttime I want to go to sleep. Next movie is Paris, Texas. I know I haven't seen Paris, Texas. What am I waiting for? I don't know. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I really want to see this. Ugh. I should have been opening the insides the entire time. These are just like the most gorgeous. Next movie is Jellyfish Eyes. This was, again, I saw it in the aisle and I was just like, yep, you look gorgeous and I want to watch you. Still haven't seen it yet. And like I want it to be a time where I have like peace and quiet and no stress and whatever. Next movie, I'm quite ashamed to say I haven't seen yet, and it's Y Tu Mamá También. Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this movie, and I really want to. I just haven't yet, and I don't know what to say. I'm like ashamed. I'm not ashamed because it's fine that I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to, and I want to, and I will. Next one is Kes. You'll find that a lot of these are movies, not a lot of them, but like a decent, like maybe like 20% of these movies are ones Bill Hader's talked about. And that's how I found out about like the coolest movies ever. So just, can you be quiet? I'm filming. Pro tip, just watch interviews of like your favorite comedians or actors or actors or directors or whatever, and see what they like, and just watch what they like, and then watch what they like, and then watch what they like, and then what, you know? That's how I found some of the best stuff. Like The Brood I mentioned before, he talked about that. So yeah, so Kes is another one of those. Haven't seen it. Also, side note, for people who have seen Barry, directed by Ken Loach, right? Is Loach named after Bill? If you're watching, I know you are. I know you're not. Is Ken Loach named after, is that, yes? I think so. Last film I haven't seen yet is Night on Earth. Big Jim Jarmusch fan though. Still haven't seen a lot of his movies. I've like binge watched directors before. I like to still be able to like have new stuff from them in like years from now, you know? Like there's still a few Cassavetes movies I haven't seen, even though he's my favorite director of all time. I still haven't seen Minnie and Moskowitz or Gloria or like Too Late Blues, but I don't know if, like, do I have to watch Too Late Blues? I don't, anyway. So there's a lot of Jarmusch films I haven't seen that I'm excited to watch for the first time, just at like different points in life. Night on Earth, I do really want to watch though. You see Roberto? You see him right there? He looks funny. Can it focus? Yeah. Love it. And I still haven't seen The Dead Don't Die. I'm very excited to though, because that's kind of like my dream cast, like Adam Driver and Caleb Landry Jones and Selena Gomez and all these other people that I just absolutely love. So now we can get into the movies that I have seen. Those hopefully will be a bit more interesting to hear me talk about. Next we have Paths of Glory, directed by Stanley Kubrick. I really love Kirk Douglas's performance in this, and I watched this on Criterion Channel. I think it was leaving, and I was just like, okay, well, I gotta watch it before it goes. I remember being very moved by that. So that's the first one. The next one, I'm very sad to report, is Broken, and I don't know if you can see. Do I have to do this? Like a beauty guru? Yeah. And I didn't know it when I bought it. I didn't know that it was like that, but it was one of the, It was one of the last Blu-rays. I wasn't gonna go, you know, return it or whatever, and I can deal with a little packaging damage. It's not the worst thing in the world. The Vanishing is a spectacular, spooky movie. I talk about it like it's like a fun thing. No, it's really like it's a fucked up movie. A lot of these are. That's Criterion. I love The Vanishing. I watched The Vanishing on Filmstruck, and I remember, like, for a thriller, because it's about a woman who goes missing. In the beginning of the movie, there's like a few instances where you think, oh, that's the moment where like she gets taken, and it's not. She gets taken in the moment that you like leave. My camera stopped recording. Does it just do that? Very sorry if there's a slight angle shift. Not necessarily the moment you least expect it, but I just thought it was funny that, like, as a director, I forget who directs this, George Sluizer? I don't want to be butchering names. Like Stanley Kubrick I can say, but this I can not. So yeah, great movie, very scary, a good fucked up fun thriller. The next movie I have is unfortunately not a Blu-ray. I think they just didn't have it at the time, and now they do have a Fugitive kind Blu-ray. So I think this is still actually available to watch on Criterion channel. This is my favorite Marlon Brando performance. I haven't seen all of his performances, but this is my favorite of the ones I've seen so far. Also, I watched on Filmstruck. A lot of these I watched on Filmstruck, so it makes me sad that it's gone, but Criterion channel fills the void. The next one I have is a super old Criterion disc. Like, it has the old Beauty Guru, wait, yeah, it has the old logo and everything, and it's like a massive, not massive, but it's kind of boxy. And this is Francois Truffaut's Shoot the Piano Player. Last year he was one of the directors I kind of like marathoned, with the exception of a few, as I mentioned, like Day for Night. And Shoot the Piano Player I really loved. I loved the piano player as a character. This is a super underrated Truffaut movie. Everyone talks about, oh, Jules and Jim, oh, The 400 Blows, oh, Day for Night. All excellent movies, but Shoot the Piano Player is fucking awesome, and I think everyone should watch it. The next one is Ace in the Hole, and I think Ace in the Hole is my favorite Billy Wilder movie. I watched a few of them for my film class last semester. I think Some Like It Hot and Double Indemnity, but I'd seen like Sunset Boulevard, and I loved Sunset Boulevard. That one I also watched based off of a Zoe Kazan recommendation, because she tweeted one time how it was 50 Shades of Grey was like Sunset Boulevard reversed, and I was like, what's Sunset Boulevard? So I watched it and loved it. And here we are. So Ace in the Hole is a super fucked up movie. That's my take. That's my draw from it. It really messed me up in the head. Another fantastic Kirk Douglas performance. The next film I have is White Material by Claire Denis. I recently saw another movie of hers called 35 Shots of Rum, which is available on Criterion channel, and it was really excellent. Fun fact, the main actor in that, Mati Diop, she did a Q&A once, and I did the microphones for it, and it was fun because I basically just got to, like, I had to stand, which was frustrating, like I couldn't sit, and it was like an hour, but I got to stand and hear her talk about Atlantics, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm gonna watch it very soon. I'm very excited. Anyway, tangent, I'm not talking about White Material, but I love White Material as well. Next film is Emeric by Fellini. So I also watched this on Filmstruck, also as per a Bill Hader recommendation. This time through the Criterion Closet videos. Criterion, keep those coming, please. Keep those coming. They are my favorite things to watch. It's been quite a while since I've seen it. I think I watched it in like 2017. It's been a long time, but I really loved it. I remember like the early school scenes and those kind of making me laugh. This next film, Easy Rider, changed my life. I absolutely love Easy Rider. I can't say enough good things about it. I think Peter Fonda is the coolest guy in the world, and Jack Nicholson is awesome in it, and it's just like the absolute, like, lives in my heart, this movie. The next one, another Truffaut, Jules et Jim, or Jules and Jim, if you want to, Jules and Jim, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. Oh, look at that cover. So good. I remember watching in an interview that I watched on Criterion Channel, Truffaut was talking about how, like, I don't want to say he preferred not, but like he was basically saying it's not a movie to watch with subtitles because it plays out like a novel in its narration, and you know, the words are coming so fast, and so I can't help but like think about it when I watch this movie. And I obviously wish that I just could understand French well enough to be able to just listen to it and watch it without the subtitles, but that's kind of always in the back of my head watching this movie. But still, I just absolutely love, can't say enough good things. I really love Truffaut stuff, and I thank Criterion Channel for allowing me to watch all his films. The next one, as I mentioned before, is Day for Night, and again, just saw this recently after having seen most Truffaut movies I watched in the beginning of last year, like early last year. It was one of the ones I guess I was kind of saving because, sorry, I'm taking off a little Made in the USA sticker. This is one of the ones I was saving. I was just really excited to watch it. I love movies about movies. So this is just one of those, and it's fantastic. Is it boring to just hear me say, oh, this movie's fantastic, this movie's fantastic? You know they're all excellent. The next one, everyone give it up for Eraserhead, the strangest movie in existence. Yeah, this movie also fucked me up. I remember watching a documentary that was just like an hour, and it was just David Lynch talking about stories about Eraserhead, and I remember him saying at the end, he was like, I've heard every, you know, interpretation or explanation about the movie, and like no one's got it right. And I was like, that's so frustrating, but also very cool. This is like the one movie where you're just like, what? And I love it, and I hope it stays that way forever. The next DVD I have to show is very special to me for a number of reasons, and it is Mikey and Nikki. So it's special to me because despite it not being directed by Cassavetes, it is one of my favorite Cassavetes movies. It's my favorite performance of his. Like, Love Streams is my favorite Cassavetes film, and despite him being like an actor in it, my favorite performance of his lies in Mikey and Nikki. I watched this on Filmstruck as well and loved it so much. I was so happy. I think it was the first, wasn't it the first movie Criterion Channel premiered on its, yeah, it was, wasn't it? But I love this. So the way that I got this was movie theater named Nighthawk, love of my life. Nighthawk was screening this movie in 35mm, and in that same screening, it was like a Sunday brunch screening, so it was really early, like 10 or 11 a.m. They were giving away a free copy of the Blu-ray of Mikey and Nikki, which hadn't been released yet. So this was like early, mid-January. Wait, actually, I can tell you because it was Sunday, January 13th. I can tell you that because I have the ticket stub in here, because that's how I got the copy. I wore my written and directed by Elaine May shirt just to like be festive and cute and like get excited for it. From Tees en Scène, love them. They make the coolest shirts. The lady that do I call her the Nighthawk lady? The server, she like was like, they saw your shirt and they really liked your shirt, so we're giving you this. And I was like, that makes me so happy, and it's one of my favorite things that I have, and it just makes me really happy, because also to see one of my favorite movies on 35mm made me really happy, because it is, dare I say it, it's a special experience. The next film is Naked by Mike Leigh. I watched this because I was reading Harry Potter and watching Harry Potter and crushing on Lupin over here, and so I watched this, and me as like a high school freshman was like, what am I watching? This is crazy. But I absolutely loved it, and I was just so into this film, and I still love it. It's hard for me to watch. I haven't rewatched it in a long time. It's just it's an emotional coaster, this one, roller coaster, but it's one of the best movies. I remember I saw it one time in my local library, And even though I had seen it already and like didn't need the DVD at all, I checked it out anyway because it just made me happy, which is dumb because it's me taking the opportunity for other people to watch it away from them. So we're getting through it, y'all. We only have like 20 more to go. The next film is The Player, which I love. Tim Robbins, just one of the greatest. I don't want to say one of the greats because that makes him sound like, I don't know, a baseball player, which he was in Bull Durham, so not incorrect. But The Player is wonderful. My favorite cameo is when Malcolm McDowell pops in and is like, hey, we have a problem. It's been a while since I've seen this. I also watched this on Filmstruck, but it was in that vein. Yeah, okay. The next movie is on Criterion Channel, and if you, I have said this before and I have it on my letterbox. If you like First Reformed, I think you'll love this movie, and it is Wise Blood by John Huston. This is again like a just will fuck you up movie, and I watched it because I had seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Brad Dourif. I was like, that's an actor. That's an actor. And this was on Filmstruck, and so I watched it. It's just one of the best performances I've seen from any actor ever. It's the absolute coolest. And speaking of Brad Dourif, this was in my collection of Criterion DVDs, and it is not a Criterion release, but it should be, and it's Chucky's. Criterion, think it over. It's fine if you leave out Seed of Chucky, but the other ones, put them in. Just give me that. Also, look at this packaging. This packaging is excellent. Do you see this? Yes. Amazing. Okay, the next film I think I'm pretty sure also has a little bit of damage. Yeah, I bought it. I remember I bought it knowing it had this little issue because it was the last one, and I was like, well, this is it. This is my movie. This is my heart and soul and everything. It was my favorite Cassavetes film, and it's Love Streams, and even look at I need a second. So yeah, this movie just makes me so happy. John Cassavetes is he's the guy, he's the dude, he's the man. I'd be the man, yeah. That's do. Next film is Tampopo. Do you remember what I was saying about watching interviews of like your favorite actors or comedians or whatever, talking about their favorite stuff? That's how I found out about this. Edward Norton talked about it in like a Rotten Tomatoes video, I think. He talked about Tampopo, and I watched it, and it's hard as a vegetarian to watch it, but still an excellent movie. And I remember the day that I watched it, I was like, I'm gonna do a juice cleanse, and then I broke that juice cleanse and I ordered ramen. So that's this movie. You should definitely watch it while having some ramen. That's the only way. So the next film I talked about earlier, and it's Mystery Train. I love Mystery Train. I think it's just one of the most beautiful movies ever made, and Steve Buscemi in it is excellent. Tom Noonan. I don't remember Tom Noonan in this. Who did Tom Noonan play? Someone tell me. I don't know. But look at this. Just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I'm gonna get through these quicker because I didn't realize that I would be talking this much. Next film is Blow Up. I love Blow Up. Do you remember in Blow Up like the little Jane Birkin cameo? Anyone? Does anyone remember that? I was like so excited. I was like, oh hello, she's in there. This movie I love it for the same reason that like I love Velvet Buzzsaw. I love like the mix of like, you know, art and fucked upness. Make sense? Art and fucked upness. Yeah, cool. That makes total sense. Next film is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Truffaut. So it's like this one and Shoot the Piano Player are my two favorite Truffauts. But I also love like The Woman Next Door and Stolen Kisses. So I'm gonna stop talking because I love a lot of his movies. Ooh, I'm not gonna stop talking, but I'm gonna stop talking about this. The Last Metro, I love. I think it's one of the most gorgeous films ever shot. I could watch this movie forever. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. The next film is also streaming on Criterion right now, and it is If by Lindsay Anderson. I watched If a very long time ago, but I rewatched it recently and it holds up. It's just the absolute best. I say that about all these, but I mean it. I really mean it. So If is wonderful. I haven't seen the other two films in the Mick Travis trilogy. I remember obviously hearing about Oh Lucky Man when I watched Oh Lucky Malcolm. Sorry, camera cut off again. Which is a documentary about Malcolm McDowell. It's a very great documentary. I guess I recommend it, but maybe not if you haven't seen Malcolm McDowell movies. But he's one of my favorite actors. Obviously Clockwork Orange. Most recently did a pretty great job in Bombshell. I've owned I don't know if I can pronounce it right. Britannia Hospital for a long time because I bought it on iTunes a while ago because I was like, Mark Hamill and Malcolm McDowell in the same movie? Oh, hell yes. And then I realized it was part of a trilogy and I was like, oh, I still haven't seen Oh Lucky Man. This is a problem. So, very excited to get to those. Next film is Grey Gardens. I watched it on Filmstruck because of Documentary Now. Grey Gardens is wonderful. The same way that like Lady Bird, after I watch Lady Bird, I always want to like hug my mom and tell her I love her. This movie does the same thing to me. And I think that Greta Gerwig actually talks about this being one of her influences of Lady Bird. So that's that on that. Next is Wings of Desire. This is my favorite Wim Wenders movie, but I've only seen this one and Buena Vista Social Club. So out of those two, this one's my favorite. This is gonna be a spoiler, so I'm gonna just put spoiler in the end and then it will go away when the spoiler will go away. I like to believe that Peter Falk is a real live actual fallen angel, so this movie to me is a documentary. It's a documentary. The next film is another Mike Leigh film and another David Thewlis film, and that is Life is Sweet. It's crazy because I'm a huge Ab Fab fan, love that show so much, and I watched this movie in full without realizing at all that Bubbles was in it. I had no idea. That, her performance in that, like really, not just because I didn't recognize that it was Bubbles, but it really truly jolted me. I also hadn't ever seen like food be used in such a way before on film. I think Jim Broadbent is really funny in this, and it just, it's a movie that makes me really happy and it's funny, but it's also like quite disturbing at times. I've actually talked about it, I think, in my last video. So yeah, I'm almost done, by the way. I'm so sorry. I talk so much. The next film is Fat Girl or À ma sœur. I don't know why they changed it from like To My Sister to Fat Girl, but I love this movie. The ending really fucked me up. I thought that's it, like this film is gonna be with me like forever. This I also saw on Filmstruck, so I apologize, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's one of my favorites. Next film is I Married a Witch. I watched this on Filmstruck as well, so it's been a long time. I didn't know how I was gonna feel going into this movie, but I ended up really loving it. I loved Veronica Lake in this movie, and I eventually just really started rooting for them, and so it's a really cute romance, and obviously that packaging. The next film, or whatever, you've seen me talk about before if you've watched other videos, because I unboxed it in a very poor quality YouTube video. A very poor quality iPhone video, but it's John Cassavetes' 5 films. Since that video, I have seen Faces, and I've also seen A Constant Forge. Can we guess what I have to say about them? I love them, and this is like one of my favorite things to just look at and hold and go through. It just means a lot to me. The next film is Mulholland Drive. I watched this only recently, I think like last summer, on Criterion Channel, and loved it as I thought I would. I think Twin Peaks will always be like my favorite David Lynch project, film, show, whatever, but Mulholland Drive is just so in that vein. Love Mulholland Drive. 10 out of 10 recommend. It aged like a fine wine, that film. I think it's wonderful. I also watched it high. I recommend. The next film is Boyhood, which is just one of my favorites. I will watch it to cheer myself up any day, anytime. And I'm so happy it's on Criterion. It just makes me happy. How many times did I say the word happy? Can we do a happy word count? Can we not do a happy word count? Let's not do a happy word count. Also, one of my favorite Ethan Hawke performances. I recently watched Gattaca, and that was just excellent because Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman and Jude Law, how can you go wrong? You can't. Okay, so finally, we've reached the end. The last film I'm gonna talk about is actually the first Criterion Blu-ray, DVD, whatever that I ever purchased, and it is Sex, Lies, and Videotape, probably my favorite James Spader performance, one of my favorite films of all time. I thought I watched this when I was in 10th grade, and I remember we were told that like in that school in 12th grade, we would have to write a paper analyzing a movie. And I remember watching this and being like, I'm doing Sex, Lies, and Videotape. By the time 12th grade came around, I was no longer in that school, and that class I don't think even existed anymore. So that never happened. But I was very stoked too. So this movie means a lot to me. And also, there is a Q&A portion in the bonus features of this, and they don't say like what the questions were or who. It's with Steven Soderbergh, by the way, I should mention. They don't mention what the question is or who the question was from. It's just Steven Soderbergh answering the question. But I'm pretty sure that my question was answered, because he answers a question that is along the lines of like, I remember one of the questions I submitted, because I like got an email that was from Criterion that was like, send in your question, and I was at my internship and had nothing to do and I was really bored, so I was like, okay, and I did. And my question was like something along the lines of like, how has your process changed since Sex, Lies, and Videotape, and how has it stayed the same? Because that was just one of his earlier films, and he's gone since then to make some like real big budget stuff, and like now he's doing some iPhone stuff, and it's really cool. And yeah, he's one of my favorite directors, also just in the sense that like he makes such different stuff all the time, and he's this like chameleon. It's really cool. But I asked him that and he like answered a question in that vein. So that was my first Criterion that I added, and then I think it was like Cassavetes and Mikey and Nikki and Love Streams, and then Naked, and then it slowly came into this, and now it's in this super long video. If you've made it this far, I don't know how you did it. I barely made it this far, but thank you so much for watching. I hope that it gave you some good movie recommendations, some good little anecdotes in there maybe, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and that is all. Okay, bye. Yet concrete jungle where dreams are made of, there's nothing you can't do. Are you done?